And start us off talking about your role in how it's like to work with Quentin. No. Okay. Then talk us through about whatever you want to talk about.
Okay. No, that's interesting. What's that thing?
Oh, it's just
like
a recorder.
Zappers.
It monitors your heart as well. So.
I don't talk about the characters that I play.
Mm-hmm.
And years ago, I was a little timid about it, and I kind of squirmed when I was asked, "Could you tell us something about your character?" Now, with a little, self-confidence that comes with gray beard, I just flatly refuse. I find it incredibly counterproductive to what I do, not to what you do. That I completely understand. To explain, because I want you to see what it is that you see. I strongly believe that what I do for a living is for you to see and to watch. But when we go, and when I'm audience too, when we go to the movies or to the theater, we don't go because we want that version, but because we want to recognize what we have to do with that version. So meaning, if you really want to distill it down to the bare essence, I claim that when we go to the movies, we go to see ourselves. Now, if I sort of push in and say, no, you cannot see what you see. You have to see what I tell you. Why would I do it? I can spare myself the bother of doing it, of going to New Orleans for weeks in the summer and sweat and work and, fall off horses and stuff like that. We could just meet and I tell you. Which would be a nice, digital age performance, but either or. So I just flatly refuse to explain my characters.
Well, can you tell us what?
We can see the long hair and the beard. Would it fall under that to ask you how you came to that look?
I can tell you very quickly, it grew.
Fantastic.
So which was it more specifically that drew you to the project? Was it working with Quentin again, or was it what you saw in the character?
No, both.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Quentin and I sort of formed a friendship and an understanding on that basis, and a common artistic interest. I feel like I'm 4 years old, waiting for my milk and cookies. So I'm interested in what he writes. I'm interested in what Richard Ford writes. I'm interested in what Jonathan Franzen writes. When a new book comes out or becomes accessible in whatever form, I get it and I read it. Same thing with Quentin. If Quentin and lucky for me, we have a friendship. So we meet occasionally, and he tells me what he's thinking about, or the little things that he writes. I read. He started writing some theoretical stuff about movies and spaghetti westerns and historical stuff. So I kind of I do what a friend would do, follow his friend's thoughts. And then in this case, I was sort of, I wasn't involved at all, but I was invited to observe the creation of this thing. So I did, because it was fantastically interesting to actually see the thing evolve and change and develop and from an idea into a full-blown fleshed out character and story, because that's really what the whole thing is, the story.
Can you tell us a little bit about working with Kerry and James?
Why the two of them? Why not two others? Kerry, unfortunately, didn't have as much as I wanted her to have with me, scenes. But we had this one scene that I was a little bit afraid of because of the German, when we speak German, and even though Kerry's German really miraculously came together very quickly, I felt, it's not enough. There should be some form of understanding, but I made it a habit not to go to Quentin and say it's not enough. I made it a habit to say, well, maybe my thoughts are not enough, and usually that's why it's called an actor. You work it out through action, and not so much at home through thinking. So when we finally got to shooting the scene and rehearsing it, and that's really Quentin's genius. When you do it, all of a sudden, it starts to bloom, and these little Chinese magic gardens that are just a few paper strips that you put together and you sprinkle water on it, and then all of a sudden, magically, they turn into this wonderful little. You know that? Mm-hmm. That's what I'm referring to in that scene. And with Jamie, it was different because we met very early on, in probably June last year, months before we started to shoot. And so we could meet again and just get acquainted, because that was a special relationship that we had to portray there in the story, which doesn't mean that you have to have that the analog relationship in reality, but it helps, and why not? And he's such a great guy that it is, it was instructive in as much as I know nothing about this whole black-white thing, because I couldn't care less. But that's because I grew up in a culture where you can afford not to care less. Now being here in America, where it really is an issue, I was a little flabbergasted that it is an issue, because for me it isn't. And Jamie could kind of introduce me to first of all, the thing at all, and second, to a specific perspective that I on my own wouldn't have had.
How much do you think that Django will, how much do you think Django will challenge at least American audiences?
I have no idea. That's, really, just because I can't gauge the extent in this society. I can guess at it, but I have no concrete way of really judging the extent. So in a way, I decided consciously to stay with admittedly comfortable position to say, I don't know, because I don't care, and I don't care not in a unsympathetic and detached way. For me, it is within my what do you call it, scope of thinking. Mm-hmm. It doesn't exist as an issue, and I like it that way. I really do.
So what does the Western as a genre, it means different things to different people because it's one of the oldest genres in cinema. So does it have any special meaning for you or special affinity?
Again, different from what it'd be in this country.
Right.
Because, the spaghetti Western is closer to me than the real Western. Mm-hmm. Geographically speaking.
Sure.
Because, of course, I grew up in the European West, on the west side of the Iron Curtain, mm-hmm. Even though the Iron Curtain was very close to where I grew up, it was still the west side. So we were exposed to all of the, Marshall Plan and post-Marshall Plan post-Marshall Plan contents. So Western, I was never a great Western fan. In a way, I preferred the spaghetti Western to the original. Maybe, but that's a speculation because a certain distance in that is kind of, in a way, ties into what I mean about the race question. Maybe a certain distance to the actual core of the thing is a good way to get a perspective and get a different, and I hesitate to say objective because it isn't.
Yeah.
And that kind of brings us round to the beginning. Objective isn't possible. We do it for you as subjective.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
Thanks.